Hello and welcome to the Transfers podcast powered by FootballTransfers.com, where we bring you news, insight and analysis on that most important of the least important things, football, or in this case, soccer. I'm Ronan Murphy and I'm joined this week by Tom Bogert, MLS and USMNT. Yeah, that's a mouthful. The American national team, insider for CBS, Give Me Sport and a whole lot more. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you very much for having me. USMNT, it is a mouthful. The American national team, that sounds better.
Yeah. The Republic of Ireland national team has started doing the same for the men and women, which is a great idea, obviously. So ROIMNT and ROIWNT is also pretty much of a mouthful, but it's probably easier if you're for English or something. So you just EMNT. Yeah.
Exactly.
But for this one, we're covering soccer, as I said. Yeah, Tom is a.
How did that feel?
Well, as an Irishman, we call it soccer because we have our own national pastime, Gaelic football.
Sure.
Gaelic football. So yeah, I call it soccer anyway. So I often get the in the replies anytime I got mentioned as soccer. It's football. I'm like, no, we've got soccer here too. So this episode we're doing MLS and the top 5 and bottom 5 MLS transfers of all time and Football Transfers Extra. So, who better to talk through them than Tom, the MLS insider? As I said, I'm not going to say USMNT again. That was enough for today.
Yeah, so. that won't apply here for this one anyway. So we're good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I've got that out of the way. So, why don't we dig in? So your best 5, which is actually a best 5.5, a giant 5th. So.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll even make fun of myself for sitting on a fence here and already breaking the rule. You gave me, 2 things to do, and one of them I already didn't do correctly. But 5, I could not split them. Miguel Almirón and Josef Martínez, both for Atlanta United. Both were so integral to the league history in both ways and integral to that run of those teams in that way that it didn't feel right to split up. So Miguel Almirón was the first real big transfer outside of Alphonso Davies. I believe that was the same winter. I don't know. It was at a time where teams had to pay real money for MLS players abroad, and he was a proof of concept. But he was electric on the field for Atlanta, so key to them winning MLS Cup, and Atlanta defined the league after coming into the league in 2017. So those 2 years that he was here, and now he's back at the club. It's not going quite as well at the moment, but he's just an iconic player in this club's history. And so is Josef Martínez. And Josef, in those years, he was the MVP winner. He was the 9. He embodied Atlanta unlike anybody who isn't from Atlanta. I think that I could kind of remember, certainly in the soccer world, like his swagger, his killer instinct, his showmanship, everything else. Like he was scoring more goals than Zlatan Ibrahimovic when Zlatan came there. He was the only player in league history that was league MVP, MLS Cup MVP, so the final, and we play an All-Star game, so this really doesn't matter. But he was the All-Star game MVP too. The only player ever to do all 3 in one season. And I don't know, man, when I think of that team, I think of the 2 of them. They had a celebration together, where it was the Dragon Ball Z, I kind of forget the name for it right now. Yeah. And that's the image I think of when I think of this team. So I could not split them up, and they both had to be number 5 together.
Yeah. So Almirón obviously went to Newcastle, came back from Newcastle, but an interesting one you sent me the list over earlier, so I was having a look through it, and he was signed in December 2016, Lannis to Atlanta United for $8 million at the time, which is a lot of money for MLS.
My favorite part of that was, so Tata Martino was the Atlanta manager, and Tata calls Miguel Almirón to try to sign him, and he goes, Tata, I don't know where Atlanta is, but tell me where to fly, and I'm there. He's like, you called me, I'm coming. I don't know this city at all.
Yeah, it's a very, very much an NFL city, I think, with the Falcons there. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So at the time, what I was going to say is at the time they had to pay $50,000 to Seattle Sounders, but then when they re-signed him in 2025 from Newcastle, they had to pay $400,000 to Charlotte FC for discovery rights. How the hell does
it wasn't that much? It was still something, but
how the hell does that work? Surely Atlanta discovered them in the meantime. I don't want the nitty gritty. I just was saying this is bizarre.
Oh my God, it was 400,000. That's crazy to me. So as stupid as it is, the word discovery should just be replaced with priority. MLS has this really archaic rule that because the clubs run through the league, the idea was we're not going to be bidding against ourselves and then make the league financial ruins. this was a big thing in like 2002 when the league probably was about to fold. But in the year 2025, I think it's a little bit outdated. But again, it's just a priority, and it's supposed to be so teams aren't outbidding each other or whatever crap. But in reality, it always happens. Atlanta and Charlotte were talking to him at the same time, and Charlotte got money for him. It's just stupid.
Yeah, so anyone who's played Football Manager and tried MLS in Football Manager probably knows exactly all these rules with with all the different allocation money. So yeah, it can be confusing, but I suppose like watching NFL, once you get used to the rules, it's pretty enjoyable.
I appreciate you saying that too, because like in the American, again, I'm not defending a lot of these roster rules. They are very archaic and they've been slow to change them. But one, it did help keep the league alive. It wouldn't have survived. And two, like, I have American sports fans who are like in the same breath, they could say things like the mid-level tax-paying exception for the NBA or, franchise tag in the NFL or whatever stupid jargon you want to, and then be like, LOL, designated player rule. That's so stupid. What a Mickey Mouse sport. And I'm like, you just were talking about the salary cap and all the ins and outs of that stuff, but that's not stupid to you? Like, whatever. Give me a break.
Yeah, dead cap money is the common one. Or fully guaranteed and guaranteed money in the NFL. Yeah. My understanding of a guarantee is it was guaranteed. There wasn't a full guarantee and half a guarantee. Yeah. So, I've got sidetracked, but I'm gonna get it back on track with the best MLS player of all time. You've only ranked him as number 3. But the best one, he's currently leading the league in Hungary as a manager and is going to win the league. Yeah.
Good for him. Robbie Keane, number 4. Because remember, the other 2 were tied for 5. Number 4, Robbie Keane. He went to the LA Galaxy in the early 2010s. The numbers aren't going to back this up, but I feel like he scored every single game he ever played. I don't remember a game where I watched him play and he didn't score, but, they won 3 MLS Cups. They won 1 Supporters Shield. He was MVP, MLS Cup MVP, all this stuff. He was everything you wanted from a star signing. And I won't step on any names on our worst signing list, but like another Tottenham striker that came to MLS for big money was Jermaine Defoe. And the only highlight I can really remember from Jermaine Defoe was he tried to fight a teammate for a free kick until the rest of the team got him to calm down. As he was pouting and standing near the free kick, his teammate took it, thundered it into the top corner, and then he just started laughing. He immediately then asked to go back to the Europe after a couple months. Robbie Keane was the opposite. He was so bought in, his work rate on top of all the goals. He didn't think he was bigger or better than the league. He was awesome. I hope that he's a manager one day in the league. I know he wants to be, but he was an iconic player on some iconic teams. And again, one of, like in that era when Thierry Henry was here, and obviously some of his Galaxy teammates that we're going to talk about, but yeah, Robbie Keane, just can't say enough good things.
Yeah, I think the fact he was kind of, his celebration itself probably made him stand out a bit more than some of the other players. But his goal record was incredible, 104 goals in 165 games. And it wasn't that, I think a lot of people in Europe at the time, maybe less so now because of Lionel Messi, that MLS was seen as somewhat of a retirement league.
At that time it was, to be fair. At that time it was.
Yeah, but he wasn't at a retirement age at that stage. He was still kind of in his prime, and it was kind of a head scratcher, but he was LA Galaxy's best player on a team of very good players.
Exactly. And the reason why, so like I mentioned Thierry Henry, I didn't put him on the top 5. Like Robbie Keane is a better signing than him because he won more in real trophies. Like Thierry Henry was phenomenal as well, and maybe not quite the longevity as Robbie Keane just because he wasn't here as many of the years. He had some incredible individual moments, like absolutely one of the best signings in league history. But you can't be top 5 for me unless you're winning trophies like Robbie Keane did.
Yeah, so the number 3, I'm going to get back on track. The numbers that confuse me. There's 5 and 6 has confused me already. Yeah, it was the first designated player for LA Galaxy's big rivals, Los Angeles FC.
Yes, Carlos Vela, Mexican star. He came here and he was an absolute superstar in Major League Soccer from the minute he got here. His first season was incredible. And then his second season is literally the best season of all time, the best individual season. They had set records for a team as well that have since been broken. But he was unbelievable. It was like 34 goals and something like 14 assists or 12 assists, something. It was insane. It was, 2 goal contributions a game. And the way, like the style of what he did it and what that team was when they first came into the league was this cool new thing. The other Los Angeles team, the team that says we're actually from the city of Los Angeles. And Carlos Vela was a true superstar for that club. And they won trophies as well. And he, again, he's always marched to the beat of his own drum. So it was cool to see him here. And that guy was just unbelievable on his day.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he won. He was named in 3 MLS All-Star teams, which is different than the MLS Best 11. I noticed.
Correct.
So, yeah. When I was doing this research, so yeah, he won the MLS Golden Boot and the MVP in that 29 season. So he scored a goal every 2 games for LAFC. So yeah, he was living the Hollywood dream, I suppose.
Yeah, and he got to go to a lot of basketball games like he wanted to. The only thing I feel bad for him is that Antoine Griezmann didn't come early enough for them to be teammates like they wanted to be. So.
Yeah, that would have been fairly incredible. And then the next one on your list in previous kind of transfer extras where we've done the best 5 and the worst 5, we haven't quite looked as far back as this before, because you'd be looking in the 1960s and 1970s at some of the teams, but MLS is a bit younger. So yeah, this is the best MLS transfers of all time. So because MLS is younger, you have someone from the 1990s.
And that's the thing. I tried to span the eras. I thought it would only be right for me to come on and give the true history of this league. So Marco Etcheverry, he played for DC United from the league's first season through 2003. He was he was 25 years old when he came. He was top 3 in CONMEBOL Player of the Year voting. He had this great personality, this wonderful mullet. You know, I don't know if you guys are going to have graphics on the screen for this, but if there's not, please go look him up and everything he was. This was not a signing that happened in MLS, like pretty much until Beckham came. Like the fact that this happened in 96 gets overlooked so much, but he was the first real South American star to come to MLS. The first, he was a big name, wasn't quite like, again, the names of Beckham or Keane or Thierry Henry, but he underpinned the first dynasty of Major League Soccer. They won 3 MLS Cups, 2 Shields, a Champions League that the history of the Champions League in CONCACAF is muddled. So I don't even know how to explain it, so I'm not even going to try. But they won multiple trophies every year for the first 3 or 4 seasons of the league, and he was the defining player of the first 4 or 5 years of Major League Soccer.
Yeah, that's what you kind of need a face of the game, and yeah, he lived up to that. And number 2, but number 1 is the biggest face of all that has played in MLS, and maybe he didn't play as well as possible, but at times he was brilliant. He was in that team with Robbie Keane. He was winning trophies with Robbie Keane, 2 MLS Cups, and the global superstar that came to MLS and even has his own documentary on Netflix.
Of course, and there's stuff on Paramount and Apple and everything. David Beckham, he's ubiquitous right now in the American soccer landscape, but he legitimized the league. Let's start on the field first, but I think that the reason he's number 1 has more to do with his legacy of what he's done around the league and with the league. But on the field, he was a success. They won trophies, and it didn't happen immediately. There was a lot of strife and trouble, and they were the villains to other MLS fans and other MLS clubs, because they had Beckham, they had Landon Donovan, and then before Robbie Keane got there, they still had seemingly more money than other teams in the league, and they had to struggle. He kind of went on those loans to AC Milan and I believe PSG. It always kind of felt like, is he coming back? Is he not? Is he really here? But the arc of kind of going down and then coming up to win those 2 cups, I think really does it for his legacy. Off the field, let's start in the stands. The amount of people who cared. You had ESPN desperately drumming up friendlies to put on TV for David Beckham, and it really put MLS on the map to people who it wasn't. And the league honestly probably wasn't ready. Definitely wasn't ready infrastructure-wise, and that is his biggest legacy to me. The infrastructure in MLS when he arrived was a joke, man. It was amateur. Semi-pro would have been a disrespect to actual semi-pro clubs. David Beckham helped change that while he was there immediately, and it showed the rest of the owners, hey, we can be a real player in global soccer if we put in the investment. And right now, you look at the league, I speak to European players, I speak to U.S. national team players who come either, again, to play friendlies in America, or, again, national team players who are playing at the American stadiums. They're at the biggest clubs in Europe, and they're like, wow, FC Cincinnati's training facilities are so much better than what I experienced in Europe. And you kind of go on down the list, David Beckham's legacy is the infrastructure he has helped push these owners to build. And then now he's an owner himself with Inter Miami, and in turn helped get Lionel Messi to the league.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, the PR stuff was just as big initially. Obviously, it brought fans to the stadiums, like you're saying. And when it was reported at the time, they were reporting, his own kind of people were reporting it was a $250 million deal. But actually, on paper, it was only $32.5 million. But yeah, it was all the add-ons. And yeah, this is how much you could make.
So the value of that number, that $250 million valuation, was that he was going to get to the unique clause of owning an expansion club at his choosing. He could trigger it for like $5 million. That last year, San Diego came into Major League Soccer. They paid $500 million. Charlotte FC was like $400 million. So they might have undersold that value just a little bit.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the best deal in MLS history. It was also the best deal in probably a player's history to
honestly,
have come with this. Yeah, I know so many players are getting paid so well playing in the Saudi Pro League at the moment and stuff like that, but none of them get to own Inter Miami.
Exactly, and again, like for it to come full circle, where like all of the parallels between Beckham and Messi that would have happened even if Beckham didn't own the team, but it just was cool that he's in the owner's suite. I'll tell you, he wasn't always there before Messi came, and he's been at every game since. So.
Yeah. So that's the Messi draw. Yeah, you want to be close to Messi. He's like a magnet. So yeah, deservedly, David Beckham is the best MLS signing of all time. Yeah, no surprise there. But the worst five are some very big names. Maybe one less big name, but yeah, some very big name. And one of them was pretty recent. We're gonna start with number 5. Xherdan Shaqiri, who is brilliant at the moment back in his home country, but not good in America.
I think I'm a Liverpool fan, so I still love Shaqiri, and I was desperately hoping it was going to work in MLS. It just didn't. They signed him for a $7.5 million fee, which had been Chicago Fire's club record signing. His salary was $8.5 million at the time, was second most in the league, and again, like it still would have been fourth most kind of this year. He was paid to be one of the very best players in the league, and he left. I think he left a little money on the table to I want to leave here. I can't do it anymore. He played 75 games in the 3 seasons. He was really anonymous. There's some injury stuff with him that maybe he could have explained some of this, but he was just a train wreck. And again, it was the combination of spending a $7.5 million transfer fee and an $8.5 million per year salary on a player that gave them absolutely nothing in a team that had they've been awful for a decade, for a dozen years, and Xherdan Shaqiri was kind of the biggest in among that.
Yeah, he was meant to come in as the savior of the franchise, but yeah, it did not happen. He just wasted them more money, and he didn't live up to his Power Cube nickname. Maybe if he had played for the Chicago Bears or something, he might have worked better as a running back than as a winger in MLS.
It's unfortunate, man, and that was the thing. Even if it wasn't going to work out perfect, you knew he wasn't going to give you much against the ball. You knew all of this, but I was like, well, he's still going to score some great goals. And then he just kind of refused to shoot from outside of the 18, which again leads me to believe that the injury issues were real. But either way, still wasn't good.
Yeah, it makes it sadder looking at him kind of reborn now this season. Yeah,
it makes me happy, honestly. I can imagine if I'm a Chicago Fire fan, I'm pretty furious. But
true.
From the outside, it's a cool story.
Yeah. So he was guilty of wasting a lot of money, but our number 4 was not guilty.
There it goes. Innocent Emeghara. I don't think anybody knows his name, nor should they. If you do, credit to you. Pat yourself on the back. I'll keep it quick here. He played 14 games, I believe, for this club over 2.5 year span. The reason why he was the highest paid player on a team that didn't spend much money, he was a unused substitute 29 games in a row as the team's highest paid player. Usually the worst signings in league history, when they're getting paid that much money, it's like, whatever, still play. What's the worst that can happen? He was so bad that they were naming him to the bench and not playing him for a year straight as, again, somebody who was their highest paid player and a key signing at that time of the year, at that time of the league, and just was awful. But, no name recognition. That's not the most fun, but I think that's a deep cut that you can, if you're ever talking MLS at parties for whatever reason, now you guys can use that.
Yeah, and you'll easily remember his first name, Innocent. So yeah, San Jose Earthquakes. Yeah, free agent January 2015. Free agent to San Jose Earthquakes. So he's not the only free agent on their worst 5 list, but yeah, 1 goal in 14 games and lots of sub appearances. But the next one was not a free agent. He was a free agent, but his salary massive. Still the highest. Is currently the highest in MLS.
Second highest. There we go. Just Lionel Messi that he's done really well competing with.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Insigne, he signed to Toronto FC in 2020 in the summer of 22. That deal was announced and agreed in the winter when he was, within 6 months of his contract expiring. They haven't made the playoffs since he got here. He's gotten at least 1, if not 2 coaches fired. He's stormed out of training on numerous occasions, probably even more than I've been able to report. It's just like a regular thing. He is one of the most ambitious spending teams in the league is Toronto FC. He single-handedly has made them stop spending money because it's like, this guy's been such a disaster. You guys aren't allowed to spend any money. And they were trying to get him to leave this winter. He wanted to leave. They brought him 3 offers from Europe because he said he didn't want to go to the Middle East, in which he was going to get 85% of the remaining money on his contract, and he turned it all down. And so he's still here. You still get to experience the Lorenzo Insigne experience. Beyond him getting the Bob Bradley fired and everything else, he was talking to another player on the team when he was trying to get him fired, a guy who had been with Bob Bradley at numerous stops. Michael Bradley, Bob Bradley's son, was on the team because, of course, you're the coach's son. Another player speaks up and was like, hey, man, stop being an asshole. And he goes, of course, you're his adopted son. You are like his brother. So just the stories alone were legendary, and he's still here. Plus, there was questions over how injured he really has been when he was missing time, and he was able to sub in for 10 minutes against Inter Miami, and the head coach at the time said, yeah, he couldn't really run except for after the final whistle. I think he got in a sprint to go get Messi's shirt. So that's the Lorenzo Insigne experience.
Yeah. It sounds like, in my opinion, he's living the dream. He's living in Toronto. He's getting paid a fortune. He's not having to do a lot. Yeah,
could be thanking his agent at every chance he's got.
yeah. And the next one on our list was another free agent, but big marquee name. He had played for Monaco, just played for Barcelona before he moved to MLS, and he was nominated for the Ballon d'Or during his first season in MLS, but not for anything he did in MLS.
Correct. Rafael Márquez, Mexican legend. He comes in the summer of 2010. This is the era of David Beckham, of Henry. Robbie Keane's coming soon. There's teams that are really starting to put together some big names, and the New York Red Bulls went with Rafael Márquez. Well, he was regularly unavailable for matches. He had season-ending red cards in the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. He was more often booed by his own fans than cheered. A huge salary, and just everything that you worry about when you give a guy a lot of money and wonder, does he really want to be here, or is he just taking the paycheck? It was the latter, and he wasn't just neutral about it. He was pretty antagonistic to his own fans and to the league. And that Rafael Márquez era was quite something.
Yeah, entertaining anyway. And obviously he was a Mexican legend, and he did a lot for Mexico, played a lot of World Cups, like our number 1 on the list that we'll come to in a minute. But yeah, it obviously is a big thing to try and attract the Mexican market, the Mexican audience, and especially the Latino audience. But yeah, I don't think too many of them were happy with what they saw of him at the time.
No, what could have been. But yeah, number 1, we're going to go with another not deeper cut, but long time ago, Lothar Matthaus. He came to at the time, the New York Metro Stars in 2000. The background here is apparently he said he was going to come in 1998. So they spent all of 1997 gutting the team and preparing for it. Then he said, no, I'm not coming yet. 99, same kind of thing happened. And they wait until he's 2000. He's obviously cooked as a player. He still comes. He does not score a single goal. He plays 23 games. And the most notable highlight of his very short-lived time at the club is he was allegedly injured and then was photographed on vacation in Saint-Tropez.
Nice. Yeah. So even living the better dream than our good mate Insigne in Toronto. But yeah, Mateus, he one of the legends of the game, won the World Cup in 1990 with West Germany, won the Ballon d'Or that year, Inter Milan, Bayern Munich. Yeah, nothing he didn't win, apart from, I suppose, Euro 96 because he was injured at the time. But yeah, he should have came and still been brilliant, because like we were saying earlier, that some of the facilities, etc., weren't quite up to scratch. So some of the opponents shouldn't have been weren't up to scratch
They
either.
were not.
And Mateus should have came and been the best player in the league still, even as a veteran. But he was not. Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. He was not. Yeah. It's a sad end to a fantastic career. But yeah. Similarly, he went on to be a notable manager that wasn't great either. So yeah. now he's a Bundesliga pundit and very entertaining. But I wouldn't necessarily agree with all he says. But maybe he's a bit like me when I'm on TV. It's just he's there for the entertainment value. Yeah. He might necessarily leave everything he says.
Are you saying you do that too?
I'm saying I definitely do that. Yeah. No one wants to agree with me. They just want to throw tomatoes at me in the street. That was our best five and worst five MLS signings of all time, and hope you enjoyed it. But now we're moving on to Duncan Castles' favourite part of the show, the hero and villain, and I'm going to pick the hero this week. And as we're recording, it's just after Crystal Palace have won the FA Cup, the oldest club competition in world football, and Crystal Palace won it for the first time, beating a Manchester club after losing twice to the other Manchester clubs in finals. And it's great to see a team like that win their first FA Cup, and it's great to see a smaller team kind of win, and that be more important than a position in the table. That coming fifth for teams is big these days to qualify for Champions League, or coming eighth to get into the Conference League or whatever in the Premier League. But no, there's nothing that will kind of you'll remember as much as winning a cup. And there's plenty of stories of families and parents and children that were at Wembley at the weekend, and they got to see Crystal Palace win for the first time, and yeah, that'll live long in their memory. And we want more surprise and success stories. So maybe Arminia Bielefeld can win the DFB Pokal this weekend and beat Stuttgart. I don't think so, but maybe.
That'd be fun. No, I couldn't agree more with your point of, yeah, trophies are what matters. I think we lose sight of the fact when it's, trying to qualify for stuff, or even it's a different level because it's United and Tottenham and the expectations are supposed to have. But all the talk around the Europa League final is qualifying for the Champions League. It's like, hey, or winning a trophy and putting that hardware in your cabinet. So with this Crystal Palace, like that, if I was assigned hero, that was the hero I had. So I'm glad that we were both thinking along the same wavelengths.
Yeah. My villain probably isn't MLS rated, but I think it is for you.
Yeah. So we did a top five, worst five, all this of MLS history. I only tangentially mentioned Lionel Messi, so I might as well use him here on the villain for Messi and Miami in general. Miami lost again this weekend. I believe that's 5 losses in the last 6 games, which is crazy. They set a league record for most points in the regular season last year. Messi has not, he's been fine this year, but nowhere near his typical standards after winning Player of the Year last year. And he's turned heel. He's, getting close to getting sent. He got saved by the opposing coach from getting sent off after the game for how much he was complaining to the referee. And then this weekend, after they lost to their rivals, Orlando City, he doesn't do media ever here because he's Messi, right? You get it. He's allowed to say no because he's Messi. He walked off the field after they lost and turned and said, "I want to talk." And so he walked up to the cameraman and got an interview and just used it to complain about the refs and everything else. And they lost 3-0. And the refs weren't the issue. Their first goal conceded. They were him, Suarez, Busquets, and a few other players were complaining to the referee about a correct decision. And as the goalkeeper put the ball back down, he just launched a hopeful long ball and one ball over the top for a breakaway and a goal. So complain about the refs, keep complaining about the refs. That's not why you lose 3-0. He's just a villain right now.
Yeah, it's a rare for Messi to be the villain, but yeah, especially on an MLS podcast, an MLS focused podcast. Yeah, Messi, well, I suppose he's doing things in MLS that he's never done before in his career. So,
exactly.
Yeah, new avenues for Messi.
Yeah, it's been a different side of him for sure. And again, at least it shows, unlike some of these others, he still has the fire and he still cares a whole lot. So that's good.
Yeah, that's what you want to see from it. So yeah, thanks very much for your time today, Tom.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
So you've been listening to the Transfers podcast, powered by FootballTransfers.com. If you liked what you heard, please follow, share and rate us. Your support helps us bring you more news, analysis and insight. You can message us on Instagram, YouTube and Facebook at Transfers Podcast. Our Twitter and Blue Sky are at Transfers Cast. Tom is on Twitter and Blue Sky at Tom Bogert. And I'm on Twitter at Serena Paul and Blue Sky at Ronan Murphy. Our production is by Mark Hoffield at Pro Podcast Production, and our music's by Mark Hoffield and David L. Stay safe, be well, and thank you for listening. And what? We did the transfer window. Now he's back with a new show. It's called The Transfers. It's where everyone's gonna go. The transfers, the transfers, the transfers. Where everyone's gonna go. Where everyone's gonna go. The transfers, the transfers, the transfers. Where everyone's gonna go. Where everyone's gonna go. Gonna go.